Hello my friends, Tricia Morris here at Club Scrap with another fun page kit. We are going to be making 8 layouts together today using the Woodland Remix. Now if you already have the Woodland kit, make sure you're working with the Remix because the paper colors and the goodies are all going to be a little bit different. So just double check, and also that you've downloaded the Woodland Remix instructions, not the original Woodland. We also have something similar to that we did for a holiday collection. So just make sure we're all working with the same thing together here. Now I've got my whole kit. I'm going to set aside all of the embellishments and ribbons and isolate just the papers. I have my Fiskars guillotine trimmer. And to stay organized, I'll be using my accordion pocket file. And I had the fun privilege of teaching a group of classes again recently in Michigan, where we were able to use these in the classroom, and everybody loved them so much. And a lot of you purchased kits to make one. So if you haven't gotten around to that, make sure you follow along with that workshop video and instructions to make your own accordion pocket file. Of course, if you don't have this, just make sure you have plenty of horizontal space where you can maintain 4 piles to keep yourself organized. As we trim, everything will go into one of these 4 pockets, each representing a double page spread we're about to prepare to make. So with our paper here, I like to hold the paper upright while we sort it into the order we'll be trimming it or using it, because that way you can see easily from the top edge what we're looking for. Kind of like when we shopped for records at a record store back in the day, if you're old enough to remember that. So the first sheet of paper I want you to find is called the raccoon print, and you'll identify it right away by this little raccoon here in the lower left corner. So I'm just going to take one of those and I'll put it face down on my trimmer base. And then the other print will be trimmed as well. So grab one of the fox print. So look for Mr. Fox over there, and we'll put him face down as well. And then we'll find one sheet of this dark green. You can tell right away how dark it is, plus it has that lovely burlap-like texture to it, and it is smoother on the reverse side. So just to keep things organized, I will put the textured side facing down. Then there's also a single sheet of light green in your kit. You'll find this is a extremely heavy sheet of paper. It's the same on both sides. Next up, let's find the brown. It's a very, very dark shade of brown, and there's only one sheet of it. So grab that. And then next up, we're going to look for a light craft. So you can see 2 sheets of craft in there. This is the dark, this is the light. So let's just grab that light craft. And then 2 sheets of the dark craft, 2. Okay, then usually at the back of the stack of papers you have, you're going to find some Cutaparts. So the one I want you to find first has this wider strip of brown on the right that says, "Let's be adventurers," and then "so much of who we are is where we have been." So that's going to be the first sheet, and then we'll find the one that says, "Let's take our hearts for a walk in the woods and listen to the magic whispers of old trees." Oh, isn't that lovely? Let's take that one next. And then you should still have 2 more sheets of this gorgeous dark green, texture side down, both sheets. Then a light craft, so grab that lighter color, followed by the remaining raccoon print. So look for him in the corner and put that face down. You should have 2 sheets of ivory remaining, so I'll just grab those. And then 1 sheet of the fox print left over, so I'll put him face down, and then our final sheet of dark craft on the pile. So I'll take the stack and flip it back over to the original raccoon print right here in the top, and I'll grab my instructions. And I just encourage you to, if you happen to have a laptop or a tablet, you don't even need to print the instructions. Just look on the screen, follow along with me in the video, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so this raccoon print is going to be placed into the trimmer with that raccoon in the lower right corner. Okay, so we're going to turn it on its side. There's Mr. Raccoon over here. Okay, then I'll lift up the blade and make sure that paper is flush up at the top edge of my trimmer base here. And again, if you don't have this trimmer, I do highly recommend it for this method. It's a lot faster than those slider trimmers, and the blade stays sharp, which is another advantage for sure. Let's find 9.5, and just as a reminder, the inch numbers are below the centimeters at the top. So second row of numbers, I find the whole number 9, and then go left 2 vertical columns. Those are each marking 1/4 inch to find 9.5. So 9, 9.25, 9.5. Then before you slice, make sure you're always stabilizing by pushing on this clear bar here, and we will go ahead and trim this. And then slide the paper without rotating it down to 3.5. So find 3, go left 2 columns to the 3.5. Slice again. Okay, so let's take this long piece with this little chickadee on it, and we're going to put this in pocket 3 and 4. And when you do so, any piece that's 12 inches long should be placed into the pocket at an angle, so I can still see those numbers and letters on the left side of the file folder. And then you have this larger section from the middle. This actually is 6 by 12 right now, so we're going to rotate it so it's horizontal and trim at 8 and 4. So slide down to 4. And now you have 3 pieces that are all the same size, also going into pocket 3 and 4. And then you have this final strip also going into pocket 3 and 4. So we just separated that print into some artwork and 3 photo mats. Next up, we'll place the fox print into the trimmer so it's right side up, and the little foxes down here at the bottom, both of these guys, and we'll trim at 7 1/4. So 7 1/4 goes left 1 column, and 2 3/4. So all the way down to the 2 plus 3 columns left. 1, 2, 3. All right, this narrow strip here goes in pocket 7 and 8. And then we have this middle section going in pocket 1 and 2, again at that angle. And then finally the last strip with the fox goes in pocket 7 and 8 at an angle. All right, moving on to one sheet of dark green. Our first cut here will be at 10 1/2, 10 plus 2 left. And then 6 1/4. We're going to be doing a lot of these cuts today to make some photo mats. So 6 1/4. Rotate the 6 1/4 so it's horizontal. And for my newbies here, if I'm going too fast, just go into your YouTube settings for this channel right here and hit playback speed and reduce it a little bit to like 0.75. That'll really slow me down. And as you become more proficient, it will go much faster for you. Let's trim this piece at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. Again, finding the 4 going to the left 1 column. And now we have 2 lovely photo mats, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. Perfect. Let's put them in pocket 1 and 2. The rectangle that fell from the end of that piece will trim at 6 and 3. And put one of these in pocket 1 and 2, and the other in 7 and 8. And now we have this wider strip here, another classic cut. We'll make it 6 1/4. And that gives us another photo mat, and it also gives us a shorter photo mat. So these are not the same size. That's okay. They both go in pocket 1 and 2, along with your larger strip here, this long strip, 1 and 2. And you created a very, very small scrap. You can just throw that away. And now we're moving on already to the light green. And with this, we'll make some narrow little strips here that measure 1/4 inch. So to get that, I'm going to give you a big number. 11 3/4 will give us a 1/4 inch strip. And then trim at 11 1/2 to create another one. Now we want a 1 inch strip. So we're at 11 1/2. I'm going to bring you to 10 1/2. And make sure you let those strips just pile up to the right of the blade. And then all the way down now to 6 1/4. We are going to repeat the exact same series of cuts we did for the previous dark green. So let's rotate this and trim at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. So that's exactly what we did before. You made 2 photo mats. Let's place these in pockets 7 and 8. And then we have this little rectangle. We'll trim again at 6 and 3. You made 2 pieces the same. One of them goes in pocket 3 and 4, and the other in 5 and 6. Once again, you also created this tiny little scrap. You can throw him away. This piece we will once again trim at 6 1/4. Makes another nice photo mat and a shorter mat, both going into pocket 3 and 4. Now we have these strips. There's 1 wide one and 2 skinnies, all going in pocket 3 and 4. And we're moving on to the brown. It's a nice deep shade of brown. We'll make a cut here just at 6 1/4. And once again, we're going to repeat the process of making 2 photo mats and 2 smaller rectangles. Rotate, trim at 8.5 and 4 1/4. These 2 pieces that are the same size are used in layout 5 and 6. And then we have our little rectangle. We'll trim once again at 6 and 3. Place the 2 rectangles in pocket 7 and 8. Once again, there's the little scrap. And now we're going to trim this into a nice series of mats the same size. Our first cut will be at 11 1/4. Then 7 1/2. 3 3/4. Gather up the 3 pieces you made that are the same size. They all go in pocket 5 and 6. And we did have a little scrap that fell from the end. And we're going to trim this at 10 3/4. So 10, 1, 2, 3. 9 1/2. That's halfway between 9 and 10. And 6 1/4. Rotate the 6 1/4 by 12 so it's horizontal, and we'll cut at 8.5 and 4 1/4. All right, these 2 pieces that are the same size going in pocket 3 and 4. And then the rectangle, this is a repeat again, we'll trim at 6 and 3. And both of these rectangles go in pocket 3 and 4. You do have a little piece that we can get rid of. And this next strip we'll cut at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, and 3 3/4. Each one of these 3 pieces that are the same size have a different home. One goes in 3 and 4, the next in 5 and 6, and then the last one in 7 and 8. You have these, well, you do have a scrap that fell from the end. 2 pieces remain that are the same. One goes in 3 and 4, and the other in 5 and 6. Moving on to one sheet of the light craft. Remember, this is the light, this is the dark. I would just make sure you have one sheet. And our first cut here is at 10 3/4. So 10, 3 to the left. 1, 2, 3. Then 9 1/2. And 6 1/4. Does this number sound familiar or what? Rotate the 6 1/4 inch piece. We're going to once again trim at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. Gather up the 2 pieces the same, pocket 3 and 4. And then we'll take that rectangle, once again, trim at 6 and 3. One of these pieces, 5 and 6, the other 7 and 8. Now on this narrow strip, it's kind of narrowish. Oh, and I'll tell you too, we did create a little scrap. Sorry about that. This one we're going to trim at the same series we did prior to make some rectangles here. The first number is 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. And now we have a series of 3 rectangles of the same size, all going into pocket 3 and 4. And we did create, once again, a little scrap. Then you have 2 strips of the same size. One of them, pocket 3 and 4. And the other, 5 and 6. Here we are with some dark craft. First cut on this one is 10 3/4. So again, 10 going left, 1, 2, 3. 9 1/4, so 9 plus 1 to the left is 9 1/4. And 6. Okay, take the 6 by 12, rotate it so it's horizontal. We'll trim at 8 and 4. All 3 of these are placed in pocket 1 and 2. This next strip will trim horizontally at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. You made 3 pieces the same. One of them goes in pocket 1 and 2, and the other 2 go in 7 and 8. And now you have some, well, you do have a scrap there. Sorry. And 2 more pieces of varying size. One is wider than the other. That's intentional. Both going in 7 and 8. Again, at the angle so you don't shove it down in a pocket that's the same width as the piece. Okay, we're really getting there, my friends. So we got this sheet plus 2 Cutaparts, and then all the trimming is complete. So just hang in there. Our first number here is 11 3/4 to once again create one of those really narrow little strips. And then 8. And finally 4. Now the most recent 2 pieces you created are the same exact width. Make sure of that, and we're going to rotate them, stack them, and rotate them horizontally, and trim at 6. You just made 4 pieces the same, and they're all going to go in pockets 7 and 8. You have this last strip here. We'll trim at 10 and 7 3/4. So 7 plus 1, 2, 3 to the left. And all of these pieces you made, they're all different. They're all going to go in pocket 1 and 2. And this narrow strip, 7 and 8. Arriving at the Cutaparts means I'm going to quickly explain to friends old and new that to start, we need to remove the paper from the outside of these corner cutting guides. Do you see the little plus sign there? Everything from the sign to the edge of the paper needs to go. It's about 1/8 of an inch. So I always look to my trimmer blade on the right. And for my first cut, since the paper's pretty large, I can't really see the metal blade at the bottom edge of this. So I'm gonna just get as close as I can, knowing that I'll have to come back one more time and make a nice neat cut to remove the rest of that paper. Now I'll rotate, and here I can see again there's another vertical line here and here. I'm going to try align both of those lines with the outside edge of that metal blade that I have here. So lining it up, top and bottom, and now I can see the bottom at the bottom corner here. So look there, and then rotate, and I'm going to try to line these up nice and accurately. Slice and rotate again, and this time, since I did a good job trimming on this side, I can look at the 12 and then rotate one more time to get that little hair taken off the end. And by hair, I really mean a hair. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of those scraps. And before we trim this into sections, I want you to make sure that this border strip is on the right edge, not this guy, but this one, because the narrowest pieces should fall off the edge first. Now I'm going to start out here at 10 3/4, 9 1/2, 8 3/4, 8, 6, 3 1/2. Now take this piece that's in your trimmer base and rotate it so that these trees are right side up and the text reads right side up. Trim at 6 1/2. The piece in your trimmer, this one goes into pockets 7 and 8, and then our little trees 5 and 6. The next strip, make sure your journaling prompts are on the right. We'll trim at 9 1/2, 7, and 4 1/2. 4 1/2 inch piece, pocket 1 and 2. And then you have these 3 journaling prompts. The first one on the top of your stack, 5 and 6, and then 3 and 4, and the last one, 7 and 8. I'm going to pick up all the remaining strips and place them in my hand so I can deal them out easily. And this guy with the little circle on the top, that's 5 and 6. So this is the outdoors, that's 3 and 4. The brown strip, also 3 and 4. Walk in Wonder, 7 and 8. And this last strip, 1 and 2. no scraps resulting from that. Let's pick up the next piece, and once again we'll remove that outside perimeter, just kind of cutting generously and then rotate so you can see better to align those marks. And again, I always look to the right at the blade rather than a measurement at the left, because it's always just so approximate. And the reason I have you do this is because on those gigantic commercial printers, sometimes they just can't get that paper to be exactly where I need it to be. So that's why I have you make that final cut, because if this is even slightly off as you trim down the line here, it's going to create this butterfly effect of imperfection, and I want it to be really well aligned. Okay, so let's make sure this goes back into the trimmer once that perimeter has been trimmed, so that the border strip is on the right, and our first cut will be at 11, and then 10, 7.5, and 4. Now rotate the 4-inch piece, make sure the dark brown tag is on the right, and we'll cut at 10.25 and 6. This piece, pocket 3 and 4, and then the next one, the square, 5 and 6, and this guy, 3 and 4. Now we'll take this where it says where to next should be on the right, and our numbers here are 10.25 and 7.5. Now for this 7.5-inch piece, notice it's a tag. So I'm just gonna go ahead and place this in my trimmer and align the blade so it's following the same trajectory as the other edges, okay, to remove that little triangular shape. And boom, you got yourself a nice looking tag, just like that. Let's put that in pocket 1 and 2. And then we have this green one. There is no app for this, 3 and 4. And where to next is 1 and 2. And now we have this lovely strip here. Make sure those little boxes are on the right. And we'll trim at 10.5, 8 3/4, and 6. This larger rectangle, 7 and 8. Little fox, 5 and 6. The little birdie, 1 and 2. And then we have this guy. It needs to be separated, so even something this small works great with the trimmer. I'm going to cut it at 1 1/4. So after I get that measurement figured out, just use your index finger that holds it in place, and it works beautifully. The box with the golden perimeter, something beautiful is on the horizon, 7 and 8. And then every forest has a story to tell, 5 and 6. And then you've got this strip that reads, go outside and do something you will remember. Love that. 5 and 6. And then the next one, 7 and 8. That, my friends, was the final cut of all the pieces we needed for 8 pages. Amazing. So I'm going to lock this trimmer blade and support my accordion pocket file before I remove it, since the trimmer is holding it up. And then from now on, I want this to lay on its back. In a classroom setting, I notice a lot of people are able to kind of keep it in an upright position, but sometimes it'll fall and then fall off the back edge of the table onto the floor, and that's really disappointing. So I'll set that aside, and in my instructions, we are going to build our layouts and dry fit them, in other words, create them without adhesive, starting from the back of the set of pages going to the front. In other words, now pages 7 and 8 are going to come first. So turn to page 4 of your instructions. At the bottom, it says layouts 7 and 8. So if you're using a tablet, just scroll all the way to the bottom and consult this kind of like you would if you were using a box of a puzzle and you have the pieces in front of you. So let's start our pieces by taking the entire stack of remaining paper, and then take the top sheet from the stack, just the top one, and slide it to the right. So here's your whole stack is left. The single sheet is on the right, and that should give you 2 dark green layout bases. And that corresponds exactly as instructed for the ingredients in layout 7 and 8. And then from your pocket system here, grab the pile out of pockets 7 and 8 as well. And that should, if we filed correctly, give us all the pieces needed. Now, typically you get this whole mess of stuff, and what I like to do is hold that mess in my hands so that I can deal it out. It's just sometimes a little easier when you have a lot of stuff, or if your hands don't, if your hands are uncomfortable, no problem. Just leave it on the tabletop, but it does distribute a little more easily from the hand. All right, now the piece that has this print on it, it's long, it has the fox, that's gonna go on our left over here. And there's another print in there that has the tree on it at the bottom, and a pine cone, that's gonna go on the right. Lay that there, right touching the edge. Now, next to this piece, there should be a really skinny dark craft, and I like how it just transitions from this to this. And then on the right, you're gonna find a strip. It's one of two. Make sure it's the one that nests. That's not big enough. Okay, so the larger of the two dark craft strips goes right up against this guy and then gets nested with Walk in Wonder. Okay. Across the bottom here, going horizontally, and I know it's covering the fox's chest right now. That's okay. I'm going to show you a clever trick as a way around that. It gets nested with this, but for now, let's just place it here. Then you'll have two light green mats that get framed in so beautifully by this shape we've created here. And you can nest them with some smaller pieces of the dark craft. It should make a perfect frame around those. I love that double nesting situation. Running lower on items in our hand now. Across the top here on the right, we're going to have this title strip. And then you'll have two more craft mats that can be tilted on the page here. Then we're going to have two of these dark craft rectangles. They're going to go here on the left side of the page, just above the fox. And there should be two dark brown rectangles that nest right into those dark craft mats. Then this larger light craft goes here on the right and gets nested with our dark green. You'll have a long strip here. Now, here's the thing. If you choose, you can take scissors and just cut this shape out. If you are not in the mood, you're in a big hurry, you've got a strict deadline, just leave it as it is. It'll fit in there nicely, or go ahead and trim it out and place it there. And then you have this journaling prompt that's going to be placed right above that. And finally, your little quote here, something beautiful is on the horizon. Now, you will be adding some additional embellishments, like wrapping the corners here with this lovely light green ribbon. And you'll add the little button and maybe some wax linen thread if you happen to have it, or any kind of a thread or cord. You can add it to the button and then glue it on, or literally sew it on. Finally, there's a little craft colored leaf that can be tucked in sort of behind this area here. Now, allow me to show you a couple of finishing tricks and how this all ended up looking. Yes, indeed, on the right hand as well, you've got your granulated ribbon. I just trimmed a shape. Let me show you that shape. This is kind of nice. I just do this. So this ribbon is angled off this way here. So then I will cut at an angle in the opposite direction. And that creates that little trapezoid shape, let's call it. When you fold the ribbon in half, it gives you this really nice double angle in the same direction, and then you can just staple that onto the edge of the mats. Here again, wrapping that corner. It's a great way to use ribbon to keep it flat and beautiful. Finally, I added that little button there. Did I sew it on? Yeah, I actually sewed it on. So I pierced through the layers of paper, sewed the button on with a needle and this wax thread from my stash. This, again, this was trimmed as well from the original rectangle, and it's up to you if you want to do that or not. Now, on the facing page, a couple of tricks here. The major trick is keeping the fox in the foreground. To do that, once, on this layout, once I knew where the little strip was going to go, I took my pencil and I made a mark on the edge of the fox's little neck here and down by his belly. So one little mark indicating where the edge of my border strip was running. Then I removed it and went from mark to mark, making a cut along the edge of that fox so that I could then slide this behind him. So you can see here again on the finished page, there's that cut I made here and here from mark to mark. In fact, the mark is still there. And then I just ran it through behind so the fox could stay in the foreground. That is completely optional. So if you're like, you know what, I'm out on that craft knife situation, fine. It still is gonna look beautiful. It just, you know, won't have this. It'll just be different than mine. And different is not wrong. Okay? Just kind of depends on where you're at in the situation. Maybe you just don't want to take the time to do that at this point. That's okay. Just skip anything that doesn't, you know, bring you joy. If it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it. Now I will take this paper, this green, dark green base, and slide it to sit on top of the other green. And then I'm going to take the very next sheet, just one of them, so it's the light craft, and slide that. And now I have the base for layouts 5 and 6. Next up, we're going to be looking too at the image for 5 and 6 and remove everything from pocket 5 and 6. So I hope you're sensing the rhythmic pattern we've got going on here. And we basically do this with all of our kits. And again, if you don't want to do this and you want to do your own thing with your kits, by all means, go for it. This is just a really nice way where it doesn't require a huge amount of other equipment or tools or materials, and you can scrapbook really from anywhere. And I've seen people do it like from their picnic table at their campsite, which is pretty awesome. You have 3 these dark brown mats going film strip style across the right edge of the page, and then next to it you're going to add this vertical strip here from the Cutaparts. Across the top, just beneath the little chickadee here, we're going to add this light craft strip nested with our page title. That's one of the things I love most about our Cutaparts, is that you can have your page titles done for you in such a quick way. Then you have 2 larger dark brown mats. I've got them overlapping a little. So if this didn't make sense here, make sure the 3 here are the same size. These are larger. Then you'll have this smaller light green nesting onto a larger light craft, and that gets kind of tucked behind these vertical mats here on the left. On the right, we've got a nice cut apart here vertically, and then you'll have your journaling prompt that you can cut out if you want. You have this cute fox. You can cut him out. And you have this tiny little quote, and if you can't find it, check inside the pocket. This is going to go across here, but we're going to add a little ribbon to that. And finally, this piece, after it's trimmed or even before, it can be placed right here. And let me just quick show you what I did here. So after it was trimmed, I took my slot punch and I added, well, I'm going to want this trim. So I'll just quick show you how I make really quick work of that so I can give you the end. Now you can even leave a little white glow around the edges of these pieces if you want. I did that, I think. And so when I trimmed my Cutaparts, I just sat down in a chair. I normally stand when I craft. I just sat down in my chair and threw something on I watched or listened to some podcast or something and got that cutting done. So then I'll take my my slot punch goes in there nicely now. And once the slot has been made, it's so nice and easy to just thread this granulated brown ribbon through that slot. I thought it'd be pretty too if I had done a slot here and here and had a double hanger. That would have been nice. And then just wrap the ends around to the back. So that was really cute. That's how we did that. So let's take a look at those finished pages. I did quite a bit of stuff here. So down in the lower left corner of that cut apart, I added the mushroom charm. And it's this one, this guy. He goes right here. And I added a coconut shell button to the top of my journaling prompt. It fits there nicely. And then with the Every Force to Tell, I just stretched some of the brown ribbon across, wrapped the ends around to the back, and added this with foam adhesive. Same here, and give it a little bit of height. So you have this height variance there, which I really like too. On the facing page, I talked about this, you know, the little notch, the little slot I punched in and wrapped that around to the back. And then here, a button that I sewed onto the page with my wax linen thread or cord, whatever you have on hand. I did use a needle to make it a little easier. Again, you could just glue the button on without bothering with sewing. Totally your preference. I'll pick up this piece now and slide it over to the right. And slide again. And I know all those pieces are kind of going to get out of whack again. That's totally okay. I promise, with all the pieces placed, it's really easy to put that puzzle back together again. And this time we're going to empty the contents of pocket 3 and 4. And I'm going to turn back in my instructions now to the bottom of page 3, or scroll up on your device to the bottom of page 3, where you will see the image of layouts 3 and 4. I've got this sweet piece with a little birdie. We're going to put that in the upper left now. And then And we'll take the lower piece with Mr. Raccoon. It's going to go lower right. Okay, so this goes right here. This little narrow strip goes right here underneath. And then across the bottom, you're going to have a light craft strip. You'll have a light green strip. And then, so this is the outdoors. All right, then I've got these light craft pieces. So one will go kind of into this artwork and the other is going to be right below the narrow strip. And they get nested with two of those prints. So sweet. Then you're going to have a larger light craft with a smaller light green nesting on top of it. Now above that little guy on the right side, we're going to add a narrow strip and then one more larger light green mat nested with the print. And if it doesn't fit, grab the other. The shorter light green mat is vertical. Then across the top here, we'll add the brown strip. Two vertical light craft. We've got this, there is no app. After it's trimmed, will be right about here. You have the narrow strip of brown, the narrow banner here on the right. Then you have this trimmed out as well. And again, just kind of do a little glow around here. It'll look really good. And that's going to be placed in this left side here. It'll overlap this just slightly. The journaling prompt, this corner, and you can back him with a little of those craft leaf tags kind of sticking out. It'll be super cute. Top it with a button and a little ribbon. So let me go over those finishing touches. Here we have layout 4. Again, I made the slot and threaded it with the red grosgrain edged ribbon. Added some red ribbon above the brown just to kind of anchor it a little bit further, and stapled the two trapezoid shaped trimmings to the left and right edges of this trimmed piece, which I then attached with foam adhesive circles. The facing page, not much to share. You can just see how it's all put together within a single layer. The addition of the thread wrapped button, I think it just put some thread on it, and I sewed it on after I had stapled a piece of folded ribbon there. So I did a double whammy. So I hid the staple with the button. How clever is that? You can see my trimming here, real loose. Just kind of went around. I didn't get in too far. Just kept it very simple. All right, now I'm going to slide this ivory paper on over, and we have arrived at layouts 1 and 2. Yay us. So I'll take everything out of pocket 1 and 2. All gone. I always just kind of look inside, make sure there's nothing there. And we'll add this strip of the print to the left edge of our layout. Ooh, but I do think first I began with this, okay? So you'll nest this here. Oh, you can do it above or below. I'm gonna do it this way, okay? And another place setter here, I'm gonna grab the largest pair of dark green mats here. And those get nested with some dark craft. So the dark green would be adhered to the page first, and that's what will determine the height of this piece or the positioning of this piece. You want it framing around, and then I'll nest with my dark craft. Nice green frame around that. This gigantic tag also gets nested here with craft, and once that's done, you can clip the corners like we did before. Add your slot punch. You're good to go on that. There's a where to next. There should be a piece of dark craft that nests with it, and that's going to be placed right about there. And now we've got a larger piece of green that gets nested with a dark craft. If it's too small, you got the wrong piece. The shorter dark green is vertical. And then you have quiet stillness here. So pretty. Do you have a dark craft that nests with dark green right here? And you've got breathe deep going in there, and then a leaf tucked behind. I did trim that out again, and just a little spot for another smaller photo, or journaling there. I think that's it. So the extra touches, now let's cover that. I did the same trick again with Mr. Fox. I just like having him out front. So I made a mark where the edge of the photo mat touched him, and then I took my craft knife and cut around. Now again, you can cover his head, that is fine, and no one will notice if you did, because you know, you could bring everything down and no one will care. All right, so just follow your own muse. This is what I was in the mood to do that day, but you don't have to do it that way, as I've been reminding you. Here I did the double linked bow here. I've got one piece of this ribbon hooked like a chain link with a second piece and adhered at the back, and then I just took some wax linen and tied him around the hole in the top of the charm so that he would be attached and he can, you know, run freely. And then this added with foam adhesive and the leaf tucked behind as a nice finishing touch. Now on layout number 1, added that last mushroom charm here, and then a row of 3 buttons, the last 3 I had. And did I sew those on? I did. I sewed those on, and I also looped the green ribbon around the back, stretched a full length of the ribbon along here. In place of a piece of paper, I used ribbon, and then stapled some to the upper right corner of this journaling prompt. You can see that I did run this title strip first and then add all that on top. I don't know, it's kind of up to you how you want to position that. It's your own darn page, finish it how you like. This is just, you know, what I did on one particular day. I am sure that if I took the entire kit and laid it all out again without looking at what I made here, I would make 8 entirely different pages for you. It's just how it turned out on any one given day, which I think is fun, you know, just take the stuff for a spin, see what happens. It's super fun. You can try this on your own, or as always, I'll be here with those instructions to guide you along the way. All that's left now is for you to get your favorite adhesive and start working maybe from page 1 on the way to page 8, get all those pieces in place. If you tend to go to a crop a few times a year, maybe just get the pages to this point, reload them into the bag it came in, along with all the ribbon and your embellishments, and keep your instructions or access to your instructions with the collection so you know what it is. Every kit comes with a packing list as well. And then if you keep that all together, you'll know what it is, and you'll be able to sit at a crop with your friends and enjoy this relaxing process of adhering everything and then adding your pictures. Your crops will be so productive, plus you'll always know what to bring along. So hope you like this Woodland Remix. It's a beauty. Enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you in another Club Scrap workshop soon. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe bell so that you'll get notified every time we come up with a new workshop, and I hope to see you soon.